Yo, what's going on, everybody? My name is JaQil, and you're tuned in to the KY Biz TV podcast. I'm excited today because we have a special guest who I've been wanting to interview for damn near years now, man. He's been so busy building, growing, developing his company. Right now, I got Donovan Pittman, special guest, good friend of mine. We've known each other for many, many years, and to see to where he's at today, I had to get you on the podcast, man, because you got an incredible story. You're a genuine dude, you're a hustler, and I know the audience is gonna really resonate with what you're gonna bring to the table. So let me just introduce my man here. This is Donovan Pittman, the owner of Lux Supply and Detail, Lux Auto Group, a 33-year-old entrepreneur that literally went from zero to six figures in revenue, $250,000 in revenue in under 9 months. So he's gonna really bring a lot to the table. He's gonna talk about exactly how he did it. And on top of that, we're gonna talk about how anyone that's actually interested in getting into business, into the auto industry, into detailing, how you can make a way and become profitable as well. Without further ado, Donovan Pittman.
All right, brother.
Glad to have you, man.
Glad to be here.
Thank you for coming up, man. I know you had to travel a little bit ways to get here, so I'm excited to have you, bro. I don't want to waste none of your time. I want to get right into it. So let's kind of talk about the brief history of how we know each other first, going from just being some kids in Campbellsville, coming up, Campbellsville, Kentucky, nothing but really a vision, a dream, and a drive. I know a little bit of your story. I know the things you had to overcome to get to where you're at today, and that's really made you who you are. But I want you to, I guess, start from the origin story, man. So just go back as far as you can remember, right? We're youngins in Campbellsville. What was it like growing up for you? And then how did you get the business bug to where hey, I need to go out, I need to be an entrepreneur, I need to make it happen for myself?
I come from a single family home, a single mom home. I'm sorry. It was just me, my mom, and my sister. Dad got taken early in life, so I always had to be kind of the goat early on in my life. My mom, she ended up getting remarried to my stepdad, and he actually got hit by a drunk driver. So, I was roughly 11 years old at that point. We lost our house, lost everything we had, moved into off Martin Luther King Drive, Shields Court, government housing, food stamps, whole 9 yards. And then fast forward, my mom went down the wrong path, got hooked on certain things that, ultimately took me from her. Tim Coghill, Jessica Coghill took me in. I was 16 years old at the time. I always played sports. You touched on it earlier, the hustler aspect, it's because I kind of felt like I just didn't have a choice in life.
Right.
It was either hustle and make things happen or starve. That's really what it was for me. I hate to say it like that, but it was. And I don't talk about my past much, but it was dark. So again, just always having to figure things out myself. Thankfully, like I said, my youth pastor took me in. Ended up going to college, minored in educational ministry. And ended up with a business degree, master's at Western.
Right. Got the master's degree there. And just kind of as we're reminiscing, like we played a lot of sports together. I remember you being a hustler, man, at 14, 15 years old, working, doing whatever you had to do, whether it was a factory, whether it's fast food. And then even just being on the football field as a competitor, the way you played, coming in, like, I believe you were like defensive end, tight end, fullback. So you might have not been the quarterback or the running back who's in the paper, but you were the gritty guy who didn't mind to go lead block, or who wanted to be a team player, who wanted to accomplish the goal, right? And I think that characteristic trait that you had back then, you bring that to the table in business. And I think that's why you are as successful as you are, because your past did make you who you are today. And a lot of people that's really been through things, they don't talk about it, they walk it, they be about it.
Right.
And I think you're an example of that. So we kind of talked about some of the challenges you faced that help you to get to where you're at. So you had your youth pastor take you in, you went off to school, you got your degree. When did you realize that I'm going to actually get into business? And then what were some of the business ventures that you actually went and did? Because schooling, you can go to school for business,
Right.
but doing business is different. So talk about some of the things you did in the past before.
I didn't even use my degree. I went to started doing line work. And it was kind of more so because I felt like it would challenge me the most.
Right.
I never, growing up, I never had a tool in my hand. You probably know that.
Yeah.
Where we come from, I didn't. I never used tools or anything. So I figured trying to be a journeyman lineman would make me, try to spread my wings a little bit. So I've done that for roughly 6 or 7 years, and I reached the pinnacle in that. And I feel like for me, it was just always I didn't like somebody else having a ceiling over my like maximum output. Like I knew no matter there was 100 linemen at my work. No matter if I was the hardest worker, we all made the same pay.
Right.
And I hated having that ceiling on me. So that's when I met my girlfriend Melissa. I was actually traveling back from Florida. I met her, and my first business venture was a club in Louisville. It was a Bourbon Hall, and we invested a lot of time and money.
That's cool, man. I didn't even know.
Yeah. Managed a few artists, and I had an opportunity to present myself with Bourbon Hall there in Louisville, so we invested some money. I've already done it, and we had 2 events there. We sold it out both times. We had 2 years ago. We had the biggest New Year's Eve party in Kentucky. We had probably 2,700 people in attendance, and contracts wasn't in place. It kind of was around the wrong crowds, the drinking, and all that kind of stuff. And I ended up losing my hind end. So that was my first actual real business venture. And it went south. So,
That's key, because you see a lot of business owners. A lot of people think it just happened overnight, right? But they don't see the failures that led up to it, all the pretty much going broke and the losses you have to take to get there. But I think that's pretty dope. I didn't know that, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. You did that. You opened up a club, and you were doing some. Was that around the time you started powerlifting and bodybuilding?
Powerlifting and bodybuilding's kind of been, it's always been a big role in my life. Early on, when all that stuff is going on at home, not kind of having that father figure. I was around, Matt Davis and Tina Davis a lot. They kind of took me in.
Shout out to y'all, Miss Tina.
Shout out to Tina and Matt Davis. Matt actually introduced me to the gym when I was 12, and all that pain and all that anger, I just kind of transferred it to the iron.
Right.
And even to this day, that's people ask why I'm calm, and I kudos to the gym. People that lift, they know where I'm coming from.
Oh, for sure.
It's just an exchange, pain to the iron. It's hard to describe unless you do it. So, for sure.
Yeah, you hear a lot of resilient and successful people. They talk about the gym as being a factor of helping with their mentality. Not never quitting. Because if you can go to the gym and bust your ass, and when you don't want to do it and still get a workout in, you knock that out in the morning. The rest of the day's easy.
It's a whole different respect when a guy walks in the room and they're fit, because automatically he's going to put in the work for delayed gratification. And when you do that, I want to be in business with that person. Because in the early moments of business, the early stages, it's a nightmare. You're not gonna hit the 6 figures in a week. You ain't gonna get rich quick.
Right.
Just like the gym, you're not gonna start out benching 315. There's levels in this shit. You gotta, pay your dues.
Definitely.
And you're not gonna get a check till later.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of the mad science part about all of it.
Right. Now, 1,000%. I love that, man. Of course, you talked about kind of the childhood there. What keeps you still so motivated and passionate, right? Because a lot of people, when they're going through something, they get a little success, they start to kind of get complacent, get lazy. But I see you up earlier than you were up 10 years ago. You know what I mean? I see you working harder now than you were 5-10 years ago. So, what keeps you motivated? And just talk about some of the things you're doing on a daily basis to keep that drive.
Right now, we're just entering 2025, so 2024 was a great year. I surpassed my goals and what I wanted to do in business, and so like going into 2025, for me it's clearing all everything that blocks my energy, my time. I'm really critical in who I allow even to be around me.
You're critical of who you bring around your circle because new levels bring new devils, and you are who you hang around. Your vibe attracts your tribe, and as a business owner, you can't have people bringing you down or who's not on the same level.
Right. Just talk is contagious. You gotta be wary of just everything around you.
Yeah.
Kind of. I do right now. I'm up at 4:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I like to get up that early because I feel like most of 90% of the world's asleep, and the universe and or God, if you will, is more receptive during that quiet time.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's kind of my first hour of the day is just quiet time and blocking out everything and no distractions.
When you're up, is there a routine you're doing? Are you praying, meditation, reading your Bible? I see you listen to a lot of. Is there Miss Robbins, Mel Robbins? I've seen you post her a lot.
Oh yeah. Mel's great.
Yeah.
I kind of in the morning, my first hour of the day, I call it MVP. It's manifest, visualize, and prayer. So I kind of get a vision for my day before it happens.
Yeah.
And I'm getting better at my week and even so like my month. And I think if you can visualize your whole year, that's when you can get dangerous. Attacking the day before it attacks you.
Right.
So.
Yeah, man. If you can beat that sun up, and then if you could really just control your environment, like you can't control the world, but you can control the 3 feet around it. You know what I mean? Who do I bring into my circle? What things, whether it's good foods or positive books and like podcasts, if you can just control your 3 feet and then control beating the sun up, I think you have a chance. Anyone has a chance, regardless of what industry it's in. So I like that, man. MVP. So what was that? MVP?
Manifest, visualize, and prayer.
Yeah. So when people look in business and they see the flashy Instagram business owners and the cars and the money, that's not real business.
No, it's not.
It's not. It's getting up at 4 a.m. when you don't want to, when you're sick, when your kids are crying, and you just got to solve problems and put the fires out that other people don't want to do, and not even get a thank you for it. A lot of times, you know what I mean. It's a beautiful thing, but it's also can be some ugly days as well. So let's kind of go into like the day to day a little bit more. So you get up early, you do your MVP. What does it look like for a successful business owner in your industry? Because you're doing something, bro, that's not normal. $250,000 in revenue in under 9 months, like that's damn good. And valuation speaking, I know evaluations change and things, but that's at least, I mean, definitely 7 figures. I mean, maybe two to them plus. So let's kind of talk about that. What does the day-to-day look like in your industry?
Day-to-day, it's changed a lot for me over the past year because I went from, chasing money to learning how to attract money. So I've focused more on not sales, but getting a return customer. And in order to do that, I think people, they miss the part of concentrating on their craft, getting the maximum output out of their craft.
Yeah.
And, I think we live in a world, especially our age, people want the maximum amount of money for the least amount of work.
Right.
And there's no such thing. Like you touched on the fancy cars and the watches and, all that stuff. It's cool, but they don't talk about the work.
Yeah.
And people leave that out, but it's you can't get it without the work.
Yeah.
So yeah, just concentrating on your craft first and foremost. Customers, people will buy any service, but they and they'll probably forget about it. But the one thing they won't forget is how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And especially leading into that's why I'm really loving the car sales right now, because it's more customer depth. I'm learning what they can afford. Getting cars for their 16-year-old girl. It's much more. They're trusting you with a lot.
Right.
So it's like, so yeah, just concentrating more on, like I said, just the relationship versus the money.
Yeah.
I used to chase money, and there's a reason it ran.
Yeah.
And I had to switch. I had to change everything about Donovan, who I was as a person.
Right.
Because I was a little, I was a hustler, but I wasn't the best at relationships.
Right. Yeah.
So,
That's a huge key because we do live in such a fast, like, transactional world.
exactly.
But if you could really get great at what you do and just, like you said, go deep on a relationship with someone, and provide the value,
Right.
they're going to tell a friend to tell a friend. And that's the best type of advertising and marketing is referrals and people pushing your brand out there for you. And with you actually building the business, taking it to $250,000 in under 9 months, we also live in a social media world. Like my thing is sales and marketing, AI automation. So I'm good at that world. But you took a route where you've actually went business to business cold,
Right. Yeah.
knocking on doors.
Right.
Like, imagine a business owner, somebody walks in, oh, this guy's about to sell me something. And now you walk out with a contract that, it could bring in millions in revenue over the course of a couple of years. So what does that look like for you, your process, actually going out and finding these customers cold?
So in terms of like detailing,
Mhm.
so I made sure to find the people that's been in. I looked at car sales, so I found a few individuals that's been in car sales for 30 plus years.
Right.
You've been in car sales for 30 plus years, you sell a lot of cars.
Yeah.
There's a lot of turnover and trade-ins. They need to be cleaned. So that's, if you can find somebody that's been in your field. There's two guys in particular that, they're my biggest contracts, and they've been in the field 30 plus years. So they collapse 30 years of my time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it isn't, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of outside customers that are return customers, but you want to get the people, you want to get the contracts.
Yeah.
You want that steady source of income.
Right.
Because then going door to door and the social media, it becomes easier because you got a reliable paycheck.
Yeah.
So, but getting them contracts, it's not easy. I never detailed a car. I had a buddy that was really good at detailing.
Right.
I'm the relationship person. I get the business.
Yeah.
So up until 9 months ago, I'd never touched a car. I mean, I keep a clean car, but I never detailed.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. Like I said, the numbers we have done, because it's like, well, you must detail it. Well, no, I don't. I found somebody that was good at it, and then I went after the contracts that produced the numbers.
Right.
And my relationship skills and just my character and integrity is huge. I've sat in the office in my number one contract, and I've gotten grilled, a lot. It's just, keeping your mouth shut and then just keep delivering.
Right.
Just keep delivering.
Yeah. That's key, man. Just doing what you say you're going to do, having integrity, and then what I really like is, for you, was kind of finding the who's. Not necessarily knowing the how, but I think if people can build relationships and find the who's, you could build a team. You don't got to know it all. You don't got to be a jack of all trades.
No.
And you probably really don't want to be, because it just takes too much time anyway, So
You just got to start.
Yeah. What how do you start in a business like this? So say there's someone that wants to get into the detailing business, auto sales, things of that nature. What would be advice? Say you're talking to 15-year-old Donovan, someone out there, they're hungry, they know they want to be in business, they're not really sure what they want to do, but they just know that there's something more for them. With your industry specifically, what would you tell that person? Maybe they have a couple $100 or something, and they want to start detailing locally.
I would say to that person, again, just concentrate on your craft, making sure you do great work. You want to provide a service that springs on its own. Don't outgrow yourself. Don't spend money you don't have. I've done that a lot early on. I had a lot of my ego was big. I'd invest all my money, and it didn't turn out. Or pan out. So just don't outgrow yourself. Patience. Like, again, just give yourself time, and then, concentrate on your craft, patience, work hard on yourself. People want to save the world, but they don't want to save themselves. And that's kind of tough.
Yeah.
Like I said, I wanted to change the world, but I never thought to change Donovan, who I was, who I presented myself as.
Right.
So yeah, that young person, work hard on yourself, work hard on your service, and have patience.
Yeah.
3 big keys.
Yeah, really, because
It's not going to happen overnight.
It's a marathon, man. It's
Yeah.
a marathon, and I think just falling in love. What I respect about you from always, what I can remember, even back when we used to do network marketing together, and we were some of these opportunities. You've always loved to personally develop yourself. I remember you specifically saying one time, like reading personal development books, it's like putting money in your bank account each page you read. You know, and I think that is key. You really do got to work on yourself, develop your craft. Find something you love to do because it's going to be hard as hell. You're not always going to get paid from it. Shit, you're going to lose a lot of money. But if you're waking up every day and falling in love with the grind, that's when it's like the long term, the time horizon. If you spread that out, you're going to get the success one day eventually. Let's talk about some of the other ventures because you do have the detailing venture as well, and then you have the DBA with the auto group too. So let's kind of talk about that. How did you get into the auto portion of the business?
The biggest contract with Lux Supply and Detail is OKI Auto Auction. It's a big auction house that's in Elizabethtown. I got the contract there doing their fleet wash and all their details, and I've gotten to be pretty close with the owner. Really great mentor of mine. He probably don't know that he's mentoring me, but he's mentoring me.
Yeah.
His name is Jim. And just very early on at the auction house, I start kind of like you're business minded.
Yeah.
So we're doing the details and doing the fleet wash, but I also make sure to be present on Friday mornings when the auctions are running. There's people there that I look up to, and there's big money being exchanged. So
Right.
slowly started getting the system, knowing how getting prices of cars, like knowing where the market is, retail, knowing what the auction prices are. And he coached me up having a little one. He's allowed me to start buying cars and flipping them. I got a license agreement with them. Soon to probably have my own dealer's license.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've completely fell in love with it. I think it's my calling in life. I found out it isn't necessarily business; it's relationships. Anything that's with business is tied to that. Even outside of business, I love people. So it's like if I can help somebody and provide a service and help, that's where I get my maximum. My cup runneth over type thing. So that's what feeds me.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's good, man. I mean, they say business is a spiritual component.
Yeah.
So that makes sense because at the end of the day, all businesses is just getting someone to agree to something, shaking some hands, putting some ink on paper. But to do that, there has to be a relationship there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of your favorite books, things that you've read or podcasts, maybe some of your favorite quotes. What's some things that you specifically read and remember that's really shifted your paradigm?
Probably around a year and a half ago, after my venture with the club and everything kind of went south and not only hurt my pockets but hurt close people to me. I just kind of devoted about 9 months of just complete isolation almost. I got rid of social media, and Jim Rohn is one of my mentors, and he says that it's so simple, but it's true. It's like, for things to change, you must change. I made everything my fault because it was my fault.
Yeah.
And I isolated myself, and the first book I picked up was Think and Grow Rich, and that book really set the tone and changed my life. I've read it probably 10 times since then.
Yeah.
Manifest, that's another great book. Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, Mel Robbins, Jordan Peters. I can go for days. I hadn't read a book probably even in high school. I probably didn't read a book.
Right.
Now I've read, probably 50, multiple times. I just reached that level in my life where I went through enough pain and put people through enough pain. It was like, it's time to change.
Yeah. I love that. It is funny, man, because it's like in school, when we're forced to read, we don't want to read like nothing at all. But
Right.
once you're out in the real world and you really want to grow as a person, like you become a bookworm, just constantly digesting information. So yeah, that's awesome. And then another thing I think that's pretty cool that you hit on, all these people that you have in your life, you're calling them your mentor. Some of them you've never even met or talked to, and then like the guy you mentioned, you said he's mentoring you. He probably doesn't even know it, but those are the best mentors that you're just learning by being in their presence, and especially if you're going to take action. Because what I've learned, a lot of mentors, they may give you time, they may not, but if you're not going to take action on what they say, then you're definitely not going to get their time at all.
Exactly.
So I think the reason why he's taking you under the wing the way he has is because he does see that you are putting in the work, and you're honorable, and you're doing what you're saying you're going to do. You're proving yourself right.
And then I think that's why, like, when you ask me about a younger person getting into business, that's why it's so critical for people to work on themselves. It's because how you present yourself to certain people, you can meet the right person and your life change.
Yeah.
And kind of, honestly, because of a couple individuals this past year, my income, everything has completely changed. It's my habits, everything. It's just kind of been 360, so just by meeting a few right people.
Right. Over the next, let's talk about the future of where you're at. We've talked about the past. We've talked about presently, what's going on in business for you. Now let's talk the next 5 years, 10 years, or if we just talk the next 1 or 2 years, however you want to go about it. But what does the future for Donovan Pittman and the business look like, and what's kind of the projections there?
The projections, leading from 2024, we just hit the new year. 2025, I do got big plans. I plan on it being my first 7-figure year, for sure. Not for money purposes, but just the person I'll have to become to make the million.
Right.
And that's what I'm more interested in.
Yeah.
It's not a money thing no more. It's just growing.
Right.
And then the money just comes. And financially, the goal is $1 million. But growth, just becoming more of a better person, developing my team, because that's going to be crucial. Getting stronger systems in place. Helping people learn my craft. My strong suit is sales. I think when people see Donovan, they see genuine, they see honorable, and that's not come lightly.
Right.
I used to be a terror. So I used to be not the best with people. So I've had to grow into that. So just passing that along to my guys, in order to hit that 7-figure mark, I got to develop leaders.
Yeah.
So that's what 2025 is going to look like as far as financial goals. So.
And when you talk about like developing leaders, I think that's important because it really does take a team. And I think the best skill set, there's a lot of skills you need to run a successful business, sales, marketing, all these things, but leadership and training, people skip that part, right? And that's really the only way you can grow is to develop someone to be just as good as you or better, hopefully better. So that way you can step back and just kind of delegate. So like for you, building a team, because you do have an amazing team that you've built, what are some of like the core philosophies you have to build people, and what does the training kind of look like for you?
For me, I kind of have so in terms of from the detail side, my partner Darren, he's the guy I touched on, that he's an awesome detailer. That's the reason I started Lux. I molded it around him. Like I said, I'm going to get the business, and I wanted him to pass along his skill set to other guys. And he's did just that. We got 3 employees. They're really good detailers. I've kind of migrated out of the detail shop, more like sales, just customer, base is where I'm at.
Right.
But I do make sure when I'm in the detail shop, say we pull in, 4 vehicles to be detailed, I'm going to pick the worst one, so that when I am with them, they know that about me.
Right.
I want the hardest job, and I set the tempo.
Yeah.
I think it's huge in terms of leadership. It's like, well, where's the Where's the boss? Or the boss is here, but he's sitting down. My guys know if I'm there, I'm the hardest worker in the room.
Right.
I don't speak much. I don't have to. I set the tone, and they follow suit.
You talk with your actions, really.
Yeah, and it's just a different energy when you're the hardest worker in the room, the calmest, the patient, the most patient. It speaks. So it's hard to explain.
Yeah.
You develop that as you grow. I've just been through a lot of crap in life, so I just I think people just pick up on my intentions quick. It's solid now. So it puts me back into the place I went to when I was struggling in life, which was the gym, and just helping people reach their best you. And our logo's a phoenix. It's rising up. The origin of the phoenix. That's why we chose it. Just from the ashes. It's just meeting people where they are, but helping them maximize who they are.
Right, absolutely, yeah. And that's the logo right there too.
Yeah.
So he's got the ice on. That's the logo right there.
Yeah.
That's dope, man. And he got the tattoo.
I do, man. I'm Phoenix out.
Yes, sir. So so that's what you call committed. All in. There's no going back.
Well, it's been my whole life. It's like we touched on it earlier, but just the gym and then just taking care of yourself. Nobody's gonna take care of you. You got to take care of you.
You got to take care of you. Absolutely. Yeah, you're your biggest asset, and you got to take care of yourself.
100%.
Yeah. All right, Donovan. Well, man, I appreciate you for coming on the podcast, KY Biz TV. This has been a great talk, man. Learning more about your background and learning everything you've had to do to get here. It's been an amazing conversation. I'm really glad you came on. Before we wrap up, I do want you to take this time to kind of say one last thing to the audience, to the viewers, people that want to better themselves, continue to go down that path of growth and development. And then after that, we'll also promote some of your businesses to maybe there's some car dealerships out there that want to partner with you, or maybe there's some people that, you could build relationships with, possibly get some contracts. And then on top of that, last few words that you could leave with some of the viewers here that are watching, and then we'll, promote the businesses.
I'd say to the viewers just to, just be grateful for where you are. To get to where you're going, you need to be grateful for where you are. Concentrate on yourself. Don't get too distracted by what other people think about you. That was a big one for me to overcome. And then, don't try to save the world without first saving yourself. Again, I'm just always, now I've gotten real selfish with just self-work and just concentrating on becoming the best version of myself. So just concentrate on becoming the best version of you, and then everything else will fall into place. Find something greater to serve than yourself. That's about all I got.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, man, again, I really appreciate this because I know you're usually in bed by 8:30 and up at 3:30, 4 a.m.
Go to bed early.
Go to bed early, for real. Go to bed early. Take care of your body. That's important, man. Sleep is everything. So let's promote the businesses as well, man. So car dealers out there, people that own businesses that have these fleets, let's talk about the detailing side, Lux Detail Supply, and then the Lux Auto Group. Where can people connect with you if they potentially want to, just have a conversation and see if y'all are a good fit for each other?
Yeah, they can connect with us on our Facebook, Lux Supply and Detail. To the dealers out there, and we're mobile, so we got several mobile units we can come to you. We got several big accounts where we do their fleets or details on site, so that's a big help.
And where in Kentucky?
We go to Campbellsville, we go to Louisville, and then right there in Elizabethtown right now. So
kind of like central Kentucky.
Right.
And Louisville.
Within, about 90-mile radius.
Okay.
We can come directly to you.
Okay. So, and what's from like a competitive standpoint, because obviously business is competition. There's other people in the industry out there. Why should a business choose Lux versus everyone else? What do you bring to the table that's hit the success? I mean, because you did $250,000 in under 9 months. right? And that's a kind of difficult thing to do in this industry. So you're doing something right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, with us, you'll get me. You'll get you'll get integrity. I stand on my word. We're very competitive. There isn't a lot of people in the industry. With us being mobile, we kind of dissected a van and kind of created our own trailer, so we made it possible for us to be able to go on site.
With the auto group as well, because that is a DBA or an ancillary business on top of it.
Right.
So where can people connect with you if they're looking for good, reliable, affordable vehicles?
Again, it's we utilize the heck out of Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook.
So Facebook will be a good way to reach out to us. We're posting cars every week. Even if with our database, I have the power to search large amounts of inventory. So if there's a certain car or vehicle you want in a certain amount, like price range or whatever, we can find all that. So yeah, just definitely hit us up.
For sure.
Take care of you. Customer first, for sure. So.
Yeah, customer oriented. So mainly Facebook. That's going to be the best way to reach you. Everything Facebook, Instagram. This is where you can find Donovan. Man, I'm so happy that you came on today, bro. Thank you, man. I'm really proud of you, bro. Genuinely, because I know your story, where you came from, and I always knew you'd be successful. You had that drive, but to actually see it in fruition, and for me to just kind of have a little moment in time, for us to sit down and talk about it, it's good to see, man. So hopefully we look back at this, 2-3 years from now, and we're going to be laughing at the little goals we had at that time. Yeah. We're going to bust straight through them. Yeah. All right, everybody, we appreciate you for watching. This is KY Biz TV. Again, this is Donovan Pittman. I'm JaQil Taylor. You can find me on pretty much all platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. Go follow KY Biz TV. Go follow my personal Facebook page. Also, I'm the founder of AI Sales Help. So if you do need help with your sales, with your marketing, and using AI in your business to automate the full process to be able to get more revenue. Till next time, everyone, stay blessed, stay grateful, stay hustling, and continue to level up.